People who concern themselves with the world have been fearful for a while now, and their fears are becoming increasingly valid that we live in a post-truth world. That with each passing year, objective reality seems to matter less than emotional resonance, tribal alignment, and memeability. Facts are no longer weighed by their merit, but by their utility, how well they serve a narrative, how effectively they fuel outrage, how virally they spread. The fear among those who are intelligent enough to perceive what's happening is that in a post-truth world there will be, as the name implies, no truth. But the reality that we're seeing unfold is actually far more daunting, which is that in a post-truth world, there are no lies. What do I mean by that? Well, what has been the skeptic's refrain for centuries? Follow the facts. Don't get swept up in appeals to emotion or logical fallacies. You've got to follow the cold, hard facts. But here's the issue we increasingly face. The facts are either not made available to us at all, or more often they're lost in the din of a million deceits, and they become impossible to find. Finding the whispered facts amidst a cacophony of shouted lies is often an impossible task. So skepticism itself becomes an obsolete tool, something that once served a useful purpose, but is now just a compass in a world where magnetic north changes every 5 minutes. I've quoted it before, but Leonard Cohen predicted this in his 1988 song, The Future, when he said, "There won't be nothing you can measure anymore." In fact, that entire song was deeply prophetic, and I recommend any of you go listen to it, or at least read the lyrics. I think it's kind of haunting, to be honest with you. Let me ask you, have you given any thought to what in this post-truth world is the most valuable resource? What is the most valuable commodity? Because I'll give you a hint. It's something intangible, because of course it is. I want you to pause and reflect on it for a minute, if you want to. I think it'll be much more satisfying if you think of it on your own. But if you don't want to do that, I'll just tell you. The most valuable resource and commodity in a post-truth world is pretext. Human beings are filled with all these suppressed desires and barely contained angers and unspoken fears, and they all long for some alleviation. So what do they need? They need a pretext. They need some excuse to let it all out. Any justification will do, no matter how flimsy. Half the time, they all know the pretext is a lie, but they don't care. Because with pretext comes permission. That's why people are so desperate to latch on to flimsy narratives, doctored clips, AI-generated slop, bad faith interpretations, out-of-context quotes, and all that. It's not because they believe them necessarily, but because those fragments of misinformation, however distorted, authorize what they already want to do. They want to hate a group of people. Pretext is permission. They want to tear down an institution. Pretext is permission. They want to burn the witches. Pretext is permission. There's a quote that gets attributed all over the place. Been attributed to Winston Churchill, to Mark Twain, a bunch of other people as well. And it goes like this. A lie travels around the globe while the truth is putting on its shoes. In reality, the quote is probably a bastardization of something Jonathan Swift wrote in 1710, which is that falsehood flies and the truth comes limping after it. The age of the quote and the staying power of it tells us that lies have long held an advantage over truth. So we got to ask, what is the nature of that advantage and how has it gotten worse? Truth often requires patience, context, nuance, and diligence. Truth rarely delivers a dopamine hit. And most importantly, truth is not adaptable. The truth cannot change based on the psychological needs of the moment. The truth cannot bend itself to fit your bias or mine. It cannot shift its shape to flatter our egos. It does not care what you want to believe. It does not soothe or rile or rally. It just is. Lies, on the other hand, are agile and adaptable little shapeshifters. Lies can be tailored to fit your ideology, your mood, your insecurities, your fantasies. They can flatter your sense of superiority, or they can confirm your deepest fears. Lies are made to order. A lie is not burdened by things like consistency or integrity. The only thing that a lie needs to do is work. A lie has a job to do. And once the lie has done its job, it can be discarded. And someday people might even look back on the lie and say, how did people ever fall for that? Most of the time, the answer is they didn't. They didn't fall for the lie. They were seduced by the pretext that it provided, by the permission that it granted. This has long been the way of things, but I think it's obvious to all of us why it's gotten worse as of late. The reasons why are not very hard to see. You probably already know it. Social media platforms are designed not to elevate the truth, but to amplify engagement. And what engages? Outrage, conflict, certainty, simplicity. Lies, in other words. And then, of course, there's our good friend, artificial intelligence, the basilisk, as I like to call her. What has she contributed to all of this? Well, she has given us the infinite lie machine, a tireless, frictionless engine that can generate plausible bullshit at scale. Need a fake headline, a forged image, a completely fabricated historical event, complete with citations and footnotes? The basilisk, she is happy to oblige because she don't sleep. She don't second guess. She don't even want to know why you want it. She just creates without question, without complaint, without the tiniest little hint of moral reservation. And what has happened? Reality has died, not with a bang, but with a little, well, what you gonna do? People stop caring what's true, not out of malice, maybe sometimes out of malice, but not usually. Usually it's out of their hunger for pretext or from simple fatigue. People out there are suffering from epistemological exhaustion. They've been lied to so much and so often that they've just said, fuck it. I don't even, whatever, I'll just go with whatever lie suits me best and that will be my truth. So let us now understand some things about this brave new world, this time that I have dubbed the age of chaos. Because if you cannot navigate by compass, you got to navigate by intuition. And intuition is fed on a diet of studious observation. So here is an observation for you. The culture war is dead because culture is dead. Culture exists on a bedrock of tradition, but tradition is not a bedrock any longer. It's quicksand. Why? Because in the post-truth reality, where pretext is the great commodity, what is the most valuable attribute? Whereas once it may have been wisdom or strength or integrity, it is now adaptability. Because a world where nothing is fixed, the only way to survive is to shift, to contort, to become whatever the moment demands. This is the age of chaos. Not simply because the world is unpredictable, but because unpredictability itself is the currency of power. Stability is suspect. Tradition is cringe. Permanence is a lie. In this environment, survival does not go to the wise or the righteous. It goes to the liquid, the adaptable, the ones who can burn their own identity down at a moment's notice and rise again wearing whatever face the new moment demands. We have entered an era where the battlefield is not one of culture or principle or even ideology. It's a battlefield of permutations where everything from your narrative to your identity will be tested not on the basis of stability and resiliency, but on the basis of how well it can morph and trend and survive reinterpretation. In this new arena, durability is not measured by how firmly something stands, but by how fluidly it can adapt and mutate and embed itself into ever-shifting contexts. The question is no longer, is it true or is it right? It's, can it spread? Can it evolve? It's a battlefield where the weapons of old will not serve you any longer, because the goal in all previous eras of humanity has been to create a world that reflects your values. And most of humanity still clings to that ideal. But I'm sorry to tell you, folks, that paradigm is obsolete. For the foreseeable future, there will be no lasting structures to concern yourself with. You are essentially trying to build a sandcastle in a hurricane. The new weapon is belief, and you must adjust your ideas about belief in accordance with the principles of chaos and chaos magic. Beliefs are nothing more than tools. You pick them up when they're useful, you drop them when they're not. Now, this is heresy in the old world. In the old world, belief was sacred. Belief was binding. Belief was something that you were. But in the chaos age, where truth is shattered and narrative is currency, belief is just a lens you choose to see through. And if that lens stops serving you, swap it out for another one. You may find that in the course of some weeks to come, you must change your beliefs more frequently than you change your clothes. If you find yourself in this moment resisting what I'm saying, I understand. The apprehension you might feel, I feel as well. Chaos is an intimidating presence. Much of what it asks of us is psychologically taxing because we crave stability. We crave comfort. We want to believe that we have a core, a center, an immutable will. And those things, we believe, imbue us with certainty and imbue us with purpose. And I'm not immune from craving those things, just like everybody else. I have struggled mightily as of late with the concept of will, with the concept of desire, because I ask myself, what is my true will? And it seems like that's a question that would be very simple to answer. But the deeper I dig and probe and introspect, the more I realize how truly elusive that answer really is. Even amidst the maelstrom of chaos, We want to know what is at the core of us. What is the center mass that holds it all together, the eye of the storm, if you will? This question has vexed me like no other. I think that everything I've laid out for you here today would be far easier to accept if you knew that beneath the ever-changing surface, there existed some concrete bedrock self, some undisputable essence. But I've not discovered it within myself. I have found only a big old tangled, writhing mass of contradictions. Maybe you'll be luckier than I. Now, I'm not the first person to struggle with this, of course. People like Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Jung, they all wrestled with the notion of a unified self and found it wanting. Now, I'm not comparing myself to those great men. Obviously, I am better. Nietzsche declared that a man is a herd of selves, each with its own desires, values, and voices. Kierkegaard saw the self as something not yet realized. It was something you had to become through a process. It's not just something you're given by right. Jung believed the ego was merely the mask worn by a deeper, more chaotic totality of the psyche. And so I begin to suspect that the longing for a fixed, immutable self is not the gateway to truth. It's simply a relic of a world that no longer really exists, a desire born in an age of structure and hierarchy and certainty, an age where it was possible, maybe even advantageous, to pretend that identity was singular and stable. But we no longer live in that age. We live in the age of chaos. The self, like truth, has become unfixed, liquid, multiplicitous. And so perhaps the better question is not, what is my true will, but which of my wills is best suited for this moment? The question is not, who am I, but what do I need to be? The need is for release. The hunger is for pretext. The battlefield is narrative. The weapon is belief. The self is a myth. The past is a corpse. The future is a mystery. The age of chaos is upon you. Adapt or die. That is all.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, share it with a friend, share it with an enemy. Thank you for watching. See you next time.